So let's do a couple more examples of the quadratic formula. And maybe over on the side here, you just want to write down the quadratic formula. Let me sing it to you again. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so now we got the quadratic formula. Could have written that a little bit neater someplace else. But this is just one take, so we're going to go with it. All right, so first off, remember, first thing is we've got to set this equal to 0 for this to work. So we're going to add 8 over to the left side of the equation. So now we have 5x squared plus 21x plus 18 equals 0. All right, so let's take a look at our a, b, and c values. Our a value is 5. Our b value is 21, and our c value is 18. All right, so all positive, which is kind of nice. So we're going to use those a, b, and c values. All right, let's plug them in. Not going to color code this time. Just going to go with, well, I guess I got red here for now, so let's just go with that. So x equals negative b, so the opposite of 21, plus or minus the square root of b squared. So that would be 21 squared minus 4 times the a value of 5 times the c value of 18 all over 2 times the a value of 5. Okay, so it looks pretty ugly at the start, but remember, we're going to start simplifying this pretty quickly. And so let's see, we've got negative 21 plus or minus the square root. And this is, again, what you're going to want to type into your calculator. So 21 squared minus 4 times 5 times 18. And when we do that, that will all turn out to be, in this case, 81. Okay? So 21 squared minus 4 times 5 times 18 turns out to be 81. So therefore, we got negative 21 plus or minus the square root of 81 all over 2a. So 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, so that's simplified pretty quickly. Now let's just do the square root. So that's negative 21 plus or minus the square root of 81 is 9 all over 10. All right, so now let's split that into our two solutions here. I guess I'll keep with red. So one of these is going to be x equals negative 21 plus 9 over 10. And the other one is going to be x equals negative 21 minus 9 over 10. So in this case, let's see, negative 21 plus 9 is negative 12. Negative 12 divided by 10. So x is equal to negative 1.2. Oops, 1.2. Go back here. Okay, there we go. Negative 1.2. And then the other one is a little bit nicer. Negative 21 minus 9 is negative 30, and negative 30 divided by 10 would be negative 3. So x equals negative 1.2 and x equals negative 3. Oftentimes you are going to get decimal solutions with this method because it's kind of a longer method, and if you didn't get decimal solutions, it's probably meant that factoring would have been the easier method to use. So this is kind of a last resort sort of method to use, and so that's why. All right, let's go with the next example here and switch to green. All right, so this equation, notice, is nowhere close to being set equal to 0. So we're going to move these over to the other side of the equation so we have it all set equal to 0. So 2x squared, and then we're going to subtract 12x, and we're going to add 18. So we're going to undo it from the right side and move it over to the left. So minus 12x plus 18 over here. So we're going to have 2x squared minus 12x plus 18 equals 0. Okay, so got a little bit messy here. So once again, we're just going to subtract 12x. We're going to add 18. We're going to move those over to the other side of the equation. All right, so now let's look at our a, b, and c values. So our a value is 2. Our b value is negative 12. Don't forget that subtraction sign goes with that. And our c value is 18. Okay? So let's plug it into the quadratic formula. X equals negative b, so the opposite of negative 12. So you got a double negative this time, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 12 squared, minus 4 times the a value of 2 times the c value of 18, all over 2 times a. All right, let's start simplifying that. So double negative makes a positive for that. And then the square root here, you type this all into your calculator here. Negative 12 squared minus 4 times 2 times 18. Would you believe it all comes out to 0? That's kind of nice. So square root of 0, and then all over 2 times 2, which is, okay. So just like we've done on the other problems, let's do the square root of 0. Well, of course, the square root of 0 is just 0. So now, when we try to branch off, we really don't branch off into 2 parts anymore, because this really is just one solution. X equals just 12 divided by 4. So 12 plus 0 is 12, 12 minus 0 is 12. So we just have 12 divided by 4, which is 3. So x equals 3 is our only solution. Most of the time in a quadratic equation, you're going to have 2 solutions, because your parabola is going to cross essentially the x-axis, or whatever value you're looking at, twice. But sometimes what we're looking for is right on the vertex. So maybe the root that we're looking for is right on the x-axis, in which case we're only going to have 1 solution versus 2 solutions if it crosses that value twice. All right, so in this case, that's exactly what happened. Our last example here is nice because it's already set up so that we have it all set equal to 0. So our a value is 2, our b value is negative 5, and our c value is 7. All right, let's switch over to, let's see, what haven't I used here? I used purple, green. All right, let's go with blue. All right, so x equals negative b, so the opposite of negative 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a. All right, so getting that all written down here, let's start simplifying. So double negative on the 5 makes positive 5, plus or minus the square root. All right, so we're going to type this all into our calculator here. Negative 5 squared plus 4 times 2 times 7. And by the way, when you're putting the negative 5 squared into the calculator, please make sure parentheses are around it. If not, if you just type in negative 5 squared, your calculator is going to tell you that it's negative 25, which is not what you mean. It is what that would be in order of operations, but if you're getting the wrong answer here, and I suppose that could have happened up here as well, if you didn't put that in parentheses as well. So make sure a negative times a negative is a positive. So you need to make sure that's in parentheses when you're typing this in to the calculator so that you get the same answer as me, right? Which would be the correct answer. So let's type that in, though. If we type that in here, that is all going to turn out to be negative 31. That's interesting. So square root of negative 31 here, all over 2 times 2, which I don't need to write again here, which is 4. So 2 times 2, 2a is 4. Okay, so what happens when we type into our calculator? Actually, we'll bring up the calculator here this time. What happens when we type into our calculator the square root of negative 31?